Another long wait between videos, but absence makes the heart grow fonder, doesn't it? Course it does, you know it makes sense. Now the Alfa Spider is on the roll frame, it's time to start media blasting. The bits that are original are pretty rusty, but let's face it, that's only half the car after so many panels have been replaced. The blasting I do outside and I recycle the grit using a silage sheet. I've done it inside before and it took me a couple times to realise never to do it again. Here is a close-up of the very rusty floor section. Looks pretty good, right? Wrong. Look at this after a week in the workshop, how the bits I've missed have spread. I know I've done a few other videos on this, but I think it's important. Other bits that were just as rusty have not done this, and that is because I got everything. I used to blast and then paint straight away, but I would have been painting over rust doing this, and I bet a lot of other people are doing just that. Keep blasting the bad areas until rust doesn't reappear, and then you're good to paint. But when you decide that the last blasting session will be the last before paint, it's best to apply the paint within 24 hours. This is something I learnt from a YouTube comment, and it's all to do with paint adhesion. Steel loses its paint adhesion properties over time, and this can be demonstrated by performing a wetting test. I've linked a great video in the description which demonstrates it well. The danger with leaving a complete blasted vehicle is to worry about new rust formation. I blasted this car a month ago and we've had non-stop rain. Because of the wet and damp conditions, despite having an insulated workshop, I have noticed some new rust. This needs to be addressed ASAP before it becomes a major problem. What I really don't want is rust to form on the outside of the car. There is something I can do while it's still raining to make sure this doesn't happen. The solution I'm using is a dioxidine made up of phosphoric acid and water. The process is called phosphating. It removes newly formed rust quite well and also provides a mild barrier to resist new rust. I'll add the product in the description. All you do is rub it on an abrasive pad and wash it off fairly swiftly with water, or I prefer Atom Mac. You certainly don't want to cause flash rust on a blasted shell. Atom Mac is a flash rust preventative, so it's fine to just spray on and dry. Phosphating does a nice job of removing new rust, but if you don't wash it off properly or leave it on too long, you'll get a yellowish tinge to the surface. Confusingly, this I believe is flash rust. To rectify this, just do it again. The Atom Mac is a built Hamburg product and mixed 2% concentration with water. It won't remove old corrosion, only new, so that has to be removed by other means. I blasted one little rust spot and it actually went right through. I wasn't expecting that, but glad I found it. Now we're going to do some lead loading, or body soldering as it's known. Where the wing butts up against the car really needs to have lead in the joint. Two reasons for this. One, lead is great at preventing corrosion, and this is a corrosion hotspot. Two, the body can flex in joints like this and crack the paint. Lead is better than modern sealant at preventing paint cracks. I'm not vastly experienced in using lead, but there are a few things that I've learnt. After tinning the surface, it can be hard to get the lead to stick to the panel, particularly on vertical panels. The trick is to heat the panel and the piece of lead at the same time. Push the lead into the panel with a twisting motion. Temperature control throughout this process is paramount. Too cold and nothing happens. Too hot and the lead will drip off the car. Now the lead needs to be pushed into the joint. This is done with a wooden paddle coated with tallow. Animal fat, I believe. I'm sure there is a vegan alternative somewhere. No doubt looks the same, but the taste will be quite different. I tried a vegan burger the other day. The taste was horrendous, and that was from a very well-known drive-through restaurant. Honestly, I think they have put me off vegan food forever. It's almost like that was the point. If that was the point, fair play. The vegans have got their burger option, and that's ticked the box. I didn't eat all mine. I gave the rest to a cow, so at least it went to good use. Anyway, I have two shaped wooden paddles, one with a flat bottom and another with a rounded bottom. The rounded one I used to produce a concave joint profile. Heat and push off the excess lead, as filing it off takes time. A round file can be used to make it neater. If sanding lead, make sure a mask is worn. Probably best to avoid sanding lead if possible. The heat used in leading will cause flash rust in the surrounding area, which needs to be addressed with my phosphating solution. The front wings to headlight bulbs have factory overlap joints, which were leaded at the factory. The same needs to be reinstated. Well, it doesn't look like there will be a break in the weather for at least another week. I'm worried about the outside of the car as I don't want to fully blast this. I've decided to prep this for paint by sanding it with a dual action sander. Any pinholes I've missed must be welded, and any rust pitting that I'm unsure of must be dealt with. And brushing on Hydrate 80, it's similar to Cure Rust, and that will provide a barrier to new rust formation. I choose to dry it as I go, to prevent the same scenario as phosphating. It's a very thin layer and will be sanded off when the time comes to spray with epoxy primer. I've got a good spot blaster attachment for blasting edges. You can use a filler spreader as another option close to edges. And the same for blasting holes. For those that don't know, this spot blaster recirculates the media, and a decent seal needs to be maintained or the media soon escapes. Hopefully the weather soon changes and I can finish the blasting and get this car in epoxy primer. Don't know how the earth managed to flood all those years ago in 40 days and nights. Seems we've had more rain than that.